What time is it?
Oh, no, no.
Oh, there's Jacob. Hi. Well, I think Rich Perrin is the only person I don't see. Did he? Everybody. Okay, folks, we're all present. All the board members are present, so we can call a meeting to order and begin on our agenda. Thank you all for being here and being prompt. The first item of business is the previous minutes from the previous meeting of October 10th. They were in the packet that was submitted. Are there any comments or questions about the minutes? Hearing or seeing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve them.
So moved.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any further comments? All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
It stands passed. Pay requisition, Kim Jones.
Yeah. Okay. So we have got payments to 100 Carlson Road LLC totaling $6,038.71. Bond Shonek and King totaling $19,448.40. Casco Security Systems totaling $419.70. City of Rochester totaling $315,220.99. RCSD totaling $17,671.17. Savin Engineers totaling $52,029.80. And last but not least, Watts Architecture and Engineering totaling $36,396.70. For a grand total of $447,225.47. Any questions?
I don't know if everybody remembers, but almost everything on here is stuff that happens every month, and it's the maintenance items, but the large number is the $315,000 number. We finally got the bill for the demolition that was done around two of the schools. That's what that represents, two of the houses that were taken down. And it's particularly one of them. It really didn't get done here until recently, but even though it was ordered and part of the project for a long time. And it was particularly, I think, a kind of an object lesson a little bit, because this abandoned house was right across the street from the front door of the school. And so the teacher, the principal would be welcoming the kids would be coming in and everything, and they're looking right at this abandoned house, which, is not what we would like to have happen. So I'm glad to see it's gone.
Yeah.
Because that school was modernized and renovated and is in good shape. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll consider that a motion that's been made by the committee, and we'll need a second. A second from Jesse. Other comments or questions? Hearing or seeing none, all those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, abstained? Stand passed. Thank you, Kim.
Yeah.
That gets us down to the phase 3, the non-action items. The first of which is the fund balance report. Kim is back from vacation. Kim Mitchell is back from vacation, so we actually have someone who can explain it.
Okay. So starting from the top, the East Fund has $500 of unused district-wide technology to $4,100,000. Has a balance of $18,023. The settlement from the Attorney General is $330,648. The CPL settlement is $205,421. And the Canon E&O settlement, $200,000. The total balance of $5,572,816 in the bond fund. The RCSD loan balance as $659,280. Deducted from those balances for this month is $315,220.99 to the city of Rochester. Chairman Richards mentioned the demolition. The Rochester City School District reimbursement of $17,671.17 for work done at School 4, for a total of $332,892.16 from the bond fund. The RCSD loan will have Carlson Road for rent and utilities for $6,007. Bond Shonigan Key for $9,000. Casco Security Systems for $419.70. 7 years, $52,029.80. And Watts Architecture and Engineering for $36,370. That's a total of $140,333.39 deducted from the loan. That leaves a balance in the RJSCB fund of $330,648. Program bond funds of $4,503,855. The settlement funds balance of $405,421, with a total program balance of $5,239,924, and the RCSD loan balance of $544,947.
Questions or comments for Kim? And one thing about the, at the top, when Kim was reporting the settlement funds, there were 3 settlement funds. One of them, the Attorney General, is left over from quite some time ago, and that actually is at the discretion in the list and available to us. The other 2 items have to do with claims that were made as a result of work on 2 of the separate projects. Those numbers will fold into the bond fund and eventually reduce the debt, but they're not available to us. Okay. Hearing nothing or hearing no further questions, we'll move on to the project manager report, our first ever phase 3 project manager report.
Sir,
Pepin?
sure. Well, over the past month and the next 2 months, our plan is to continue the reconnaissance of step 1 of the strategic plan development by collecting, reviewing, and analyzing the materials prepared by the Watts SWBL team. We've developed a 2-year look-ahead schedule of the overall program that we started reviewing with the chairman, and we're in the process of expanding that schedule for the entire life cycle of the program. And but since I was put in my place by Dr. Caruso last week, my team and I continued to meet separately with the Watts SWBL team and with the school district's facilities and operations leadership, more specifically, Monsieur Jacob Scott and Mike Schmidt, to discuss how to move forward with our work in a manner that will always be acceptable to both superintendents and the RJSCB leadership towards the best possible outcomes for the program. In terms of the operating budget and short-term financing, I started discussions with the chairman, and the first few critical activities will be continued We'll work with the district's finance department, Mr. Avar, the city, and the board's financial advisor to size a band that will carry the planning work necessary until the first tranche of the serial bonds is sold. This requires, of course, the engagement letters being reviewed by Ed and his team at BSK. Requires that they're fully executed for both capital market advisors and city. In regards to the strategic plan development itself, the handoff from Watts to Savin is happening smoothly. We've had a series of meetings with not only the chairman of the board, but with the Watts SWBR team and the district's operations leadership, as I mentioned earlier, to discuss the work to date and what needs to be done now and over the next 3 months. And as a vice president of Savin Engineers and program director, my team and I will continue those discussions as much as possible to achieve the goals and objectives of our collective planning efforts. As far as prioritization and strategic sequencing, we will need some help from the school district leadership, of course, to prioritize all segments of this phase of the program with the full understanding that, as I was told, infrastructure is what driving the discussions at state ed. This means understanding the type of seeker action the board needs to declare for each phase or each project within the phase of the program, reaching consensus on a realistic schedule and reconciling the estimates with the amounts that are more or less realistic. We, of course, will continue working on our program-wide schedule. Wally and Rick Stolpen and I, we started working with our scheduler. We have a schedule in place, but again, it's sanitized. I just don't want to head it out yet. Wally provides some of the comments he has. As far as the conceptual cost estimates, we will continue to clean up and update those estimates with the best information and assumptions available. As we've done in phase 2, we will report to the board on a monthly basis while maintaining daily and weekly contact with the work as necessary, understanding that district is in charge of the district program. We will also assist the RJSCB, as we've done in the past, with preparation of the yearly reports, working with the finance department and the legislative requirements, working with the trustee, with the underwriter and the capital market advisors for submission of documents to the stakeholders. I'm not sure if there's anything else, Rolly, you'd like to add on behalf of our team. Well,
I think you certainly covered it. Eager to hate time, but to be as time effective and efficient as possible, but still obviously do the due diligence that make sure we do it once and correctly. In that regard, a very receptive sentiment that we're getting in the weekly coordination meetings with the district.
You know, at the next meeting of this board, there are 3 things that I think we should be prepared to submit. You and I have talked about this, but I want to try it out on everybody here. There are really 2 budgetary issues. One issue is the sort of operating budget, what it takes to keep this thing going. You know, and that's everything from the rent to the fees we pay the project manager. We need to get that. We've talked about that budget and there's been work done on it, but we need to get to a point where we can present something to the board next month.
Okay.
And work off of it. We've been working off the one we've had in place, and that's fine, but it's now time to get a new one in place and present it to the board. The second thing that considerable work has been done by the Watts group is the estimate with respect to the construction costs. There is an estimate that's been done by a consultant for construction cost with respect to the projects themselves. You know, that's a moving target and it's going to stay moving for quite some time, but we need to get a grip on, you know, what range of circumstances we are facing there. So that we can make some decisions about how we have to approach it. So I want to get to the point where we can share that with the board next month too. Okay, and you know, I get it that it's preliminary and I get it that it's order of magnitude, we got to get a grip on this here. So I want to do that. And then the third thing is the schedule itself for I know we're working on that. Again, I know that's preliminary too, and it's going to change a lot, but you got to have a starting point here. So those three things I think we ought to plan to bring to the board in some fashion next month. Okay.
Yes, and we are working on those, as you mentioned. We collected a lot of data from Watts
Mhm.
and Trophy Point.
Right.
We are organizing.
Trophy Point is the
Yeah.
consultant that Watts hired to do the construction estimates.
So we're in the process of organizing that data right now, and we'll be ready to present it for the next board meeting.
Mhm. Good. While we're talking about this, let's just finish the open items. The other open item here is the independent compliance officer selection status. That selection's been done and voted on, but Ed, where are we with respect to the agreement?
So this is not insurmountable. We should get this done this week. And I talked to Chairman Richards about it this morning or this afternoon, that the board wants the agreement in place. But the three issues just briefly are, their proposal is for a 60-month schedule. Actually, this project 31. So we sent them last week the Savin schedule of work through 2031. They have not gotten back to us yet. I told them they needed to today, adjustments to their proposal. The other issue, as you can recall, is that the board expressed wanting to have another proposer work with Anshin and maybe some kind of subcontractor capacity. So they have agreed to do that. They just haven't told us how that's going to work. And finally, they have technical legal issues concerning indemnity for their negligence, which I'm sure we can work out. Those are the three issues that have frankly been outstanding for a couple of weeks. So we're going to get that done this week, I hope. Or we will, I should say.
Yeah, because that has to go to the board for approving the contract next month, and it needs to happen.
Yep.
Can't go any longer.
Yep.
You remember that one of the things that the ICO has to do is prepare that section of the plan, the strategic plan that relates to MBE program. That's got to be in that plan, and they're responsible for putting it together. And that includes the goals that will be used for MBE compliance in the project. So, you know, we need to get going. I don't want that to be, after all we've gone through here and all this other trouble, I don't want that to be the thing in the end here we haven't got done. So we can get that plan filed. The other thing, the other part of the plan that Pepin made a reference to that will be coming to you, some portions of it will be coming to you, at least in terms of hiring people next month, is the financial plan. The financial plan for this thing is quite detailed. It has to, as we've talked, it has to go to the comptroller, and it's quite detailed, including cost estimates and a schedule for when money has to be raised and all that kind of thing. That's really something we need the capital markets, the advisor and Citicorp group to do for us. So we need to get them on board. We're not really ready to have them do it yet because we've got this other work we've got to do, but again, I don't want that to get all of a sudden we're ready to go and they're not there. So that's another thing we have to deal with, because it is an incredibly detailed presentation. And we're anticipating that it will be difficult to get it through the controller's office. Not difficult in the sense that there's an objection to what we're doing, but it's just a lot of delay in that office. Whereas things sit there for quite a long time before they can get to them. So, you know, we're gonna have to contend with that when we get to the point of being able to do it.
Just to add, Mr. Chairman, we'll also obviously need the city's help and capital market for the CT band when you're ready to do a demonstration.
Right, right.
Pep, and I'll
Okay.
just, I'm sorry, Pep, and I'll just say that, you know, Rick is ready to work with us as soon as we're ready to engage him.
Good.
Great, thank you.
That's Rick that she's referring to as capital markets. So that's the initial work that'll be done. And they're doing this, they've done this all up and down the state. So got some good expertise there. We just need to get cooking. That's, you know. So the just to review here, so everybody is kind of in the same page. The financing of this project is got three elements to it. One element is a loan from the district that we will pay back when the bonds are issued. And we're going to have to negotiate an extension of that, I'm sure, because of the time it's taken to get some other things done. The second thing is the interim financing, interim borrowing, what's been referred to as a ban. That's the city will do that. That will be the first borrowing for the project. And it will finance the project up until the construction is ready to go. Once the construction's ready to go, then we'll be able to issue need to be prepared to issue the first tranche of the actual bonds, permanent financing of the project. It'll go in a couple of tranches, but the first one, you can't, because of the state rules and regulations, you can't really do that until you've got the thing ready to go and going. So when you do these state financings, you're actually financing specific projects. You're not financing the program. And so that's why a lot of data has to be put together and has to be ready to go. Because the financing itself is tied to the particular project itself we're doing. The school, in other words, that we're doing. So that will be, that process is something we'll be working through here. But the first two parts of it are the loan, the part of which is in place already, and then as Kim Jones referred to, the ban that'll be issued by the city. There will be what's been called a cooperative agreement. That'll between the city, the school district, and the board. Basically, what that will say is those people that advance money will get paid back, you know, out of the permanent financing. It's just an agreement to repay the amounts that are advanced. That's all I've got. Anything else, folks?
Question, what, is it fair to assume that get the cost estimates and we compare that to how the 5 million is parsed out? There's gonna have to be some reworking.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if that's the case, where does that sit in the timeline? Because that's gonna take some time, right? When I say reworking, like kind of rescoping, like, because we only have 475 million.
Yeah, well,
The
right.
estimates come back at, let's say, 525 million.
Yeah,
Gonna have-
let's not say something like that.
If it comes in higher,
Yeah,
I
no,
don't have a number
I know what you're saying.
higher,
What you're saying, of course you're.
I have to make an adjustment.
Yeah.
I don't know the process of how we would go about doing.
Yeah, the reason for the, I'll give you the process and then we talk about the schedule. The reason I was pushing to get the preliminary numbers on the table with the board next month we need some order of magnitude of how big a problem we got here. Because it's one thing if looks like a problem that we can manage by some efficiency engineering and projects that exist, or whether we gotta impact the project in its whole totality. I'm not giving up on that. I don't wanna, there are gonna be adjustments, but I'm not giving up on the possibility that we can work this out, you know. What would the process by which that will happen is the project manager will be responsible for proposing some alternatives.
Okay.
Here's 3 or 4 ways in which you can solve this problem. And then the district will decide.
Okay.
Yep, and I think that's what we talked about earlier, right? I don't want to get ahead of that until we share where we are in the next month or so, right?
Right. Right.
So get to
It,
alternative.
it's a little tricky because it's, yes. Because you want to be able to look at a spectrum of possibilities, you know, and get a real sense of what your trade-offs are, because there are going to be some trade-offs. But you don't want to precipitate a panic in the interim just because something gets mentioned on that list that, you know, somebody will react to. But ultimately, it's our job through the project manager to propose alternatives, and then it's the districts to decide it. And the timing is that that really needs to be done before we file the plan.
Right.
Because we need to have the plan be what we're finally gonna do. That doesn't mean that during the course of the projects, there won't be smaller trade-offs to be made. There always are, you know, there are always things that develop, there are always judgments to be made, but order of magnitude. So you'll be hearing about it soon. You'll be hearing about it soon. And one of the reasons that we paid Watts and Trophy Point to do this preliminary estimate, I wanted to have that data available to us sooner rather than later, so we don't go way down this project and realize we're, you know, way off the prospects.
We're very close. We just have to reorganize all
Right,
the information
right,
we got from both Watts, Point. We spoke with.
This is a big project. There's a lot of money here. So you sort of have to get used to the numbers. If somebody came in and said that we're $25 million off, that's not bad. I mean, it sounds, you know, ridiculous, but you know, we beat up Pepin and we can do it.
Well, I regardless of the delta is my concern is that we integrate that into a thought process to revise or determine how that impacts the plan that's on the table currently as far as projects and
Exactly, yeah, exactly right.
implications of that. If that's a rescoping or, you know, whatever the trade-offs that might occur.
Right.
And one thing Rolly said earlier, I kept saying that the fact that infrastructure is what's driving this program, you'll be able to easily make some adjustments within the infrastructure because you can't go over the legislative limit. No matter what we do, just have to back the scope up to that 475, including incidentals and all soft costs and other incidentals.
I think that become a lot clearer to everybody as coordinated master schedule can be rolled out to you. And specifically, the SED has that in the legislation sign-offs, adding 25% construction documents, 50% construction documents, 75%, 90%. That's 5 sign-offs compared to the 1 and 90%. So each one of those steps cannot exceed 95% of the MCA. And said that, as Pepin just said, the infrastructure, boilers, generators, roofs, those are hard items. Some of the softer items, we'll keep on a separate list, if you will, of nice to do money permitting.
Yeah, unfortunately,
We have to manage expectations around that, right?
Right, right.
People saw in phase 1 and phase 2 may not be the reality of.
Right,
You know, and so I wanna get that in front of that as well.
Right, right.
Especially when you have a building like Franklin and Wilson on the table,
Yeah,
right? You look at, and we'll get some of the other buildings, we're gonna have to match some of the education. Of what is gonna be to happen, and that's why I want the numbers to drive all those conversations as we have, but essentially I have with the board.
yeah, unfortunately, the infrastructure is very expensive. It sucks up a lot of the total. And if you're standing in the school, it doesn't do much for you. You know, compared to what some other things might appear to do for you, but we did a fair amount of infrastructure in phase two. You know, we did quite a bit of infrastructure. So it's not a new challenge. Anything else, folks? Okay, well, we can send you home early. This, if those three things I asked for next time, the preliminary schedule, the operating, and then the construction budget, we get them on the table next month, you won't go home early.
That's good.
We stand adjourned.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you. Yep,
Bye.
great day. Thanks.
Yes.